What does it mean to be relevant in a fast-paced era of AI? How can you be in demand? The answer might surprise you. Welcome to Women Leaders on the Move, a HerCsuite radio podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Benamou. And every week, I have the amazing experience of interviewing inspirational speakers, and I also sprinkle in a few ideas of my own to help you take action, find your purpose, and create impact in the world around you. I'm also the founder of HerCsuite, a leadership network and portfolio career company. Women are building what's next and are in demand for board roles, growing businesses, and now with Next to Lead AI driving the conversation and staying ahead of the speed of change. I hope you will visit us at HerCsuite.com. Today, I'm going to be talking all about ways not only to be relevant, but in demand. I can't wait for you to hear all about it, so let's get started now. Have you tried to do a search recently and couldn't find what you were looking for? I have been doing body, formerly Beachbody on demand, for almost 18 years. That's more than a few workouts 7 times a week. I used Chrome, also known as a Google search, and I asked, where can I find online workouts? There were lists, mostly nothing I was really looking for. And then I noticed something was missing. Body was not on any list. This really gave me a pause, and I think there's reasons for this. It could be their new business model where they removed all their coaches. Flashback moment, I was even a coach 10 years ago. But more likely than not, they aren't using AEO to get found. AEO has replaced SEO, and the change is dramatic. That experience made me think, what happens with discoverability for HerCsuite? Ever the curious learner, I put in the word next with leadership for women, and you might have heard me mention that a few times, and HerCsuite didn't come up. I put on my Connect the Dots hat, and we have revamped our entire website to reflect the new AEO format. And I wanted to see what would happen. And you know what? It worked. Suddenly, we appeared number 2 after one of the biggest women's networks. And I thought, okay, I'm onto something. What does this mean for others? Shortly after launching Next to Lead AI, I had a conversation with HerCsuite member Coco Selman. We were talking about these changes and the impact and significance of relevance for women founders and CEOs and business owners. The question we were exploring was, if we can't be found, how does a business thrive and survive? We have the opportunity today to make a shift and create a path where we are in demand, and it may not be what you think. AEO and AI can help people find you, yet that's only part of the story. Being relevant and in demand is not just about algorithms. It's about human connections, and it starts with how we view ourselves. When I coach women leaders, one of the first things I tell them after we've been talking for a while and they're sharing the challenge that they have is I ask them to think about seeing themselves in a different light. I tell them, I'm a baller and I'm in demand. This usually gets a laugh. And then I reaffirm they should repeat these words. Try it now. I'm a baller and I'm in demand. How does that make you feel? The next steps are really designed to not only help you be in demand, but will help you make the impact you're meant to in the world. And these are the things that I help members of HerCsuite and my one-to-one clients. So I'm going to share the secrets with you today. 5 secrets to being in demand and staying relevant. The first is creating a strong personal brand. I'm sure you've heard this before, but I want to add something for you to think about. How you show up to meetings, in conversations, and LinkedIn really matters. Think about virtual and in-person meetings. What is your brand in those meetings? Naomi Kent, the co founder of our board readiness programs, and I talk about this a lot. She gives an example of a person showing up in a hoodie for a board interview when she was a recruiter. It didn't matter if the person was qualified or not. They were eliminated because they didn't show up as a board director. Similarly, you never know when you might be in a conversation that could change your career or future. I talk about this a lot with Diane Boyer, who is our stylist in HerCsuite. And we talk about what do we dress like when we go out. On Saturdays, it's so easy for me to stay in my leggings and comfy clothes. But if I'm doing an errand, going to the post office or the local grocery store, I usually am always dressed at least business casual. And if you know anything about my brand, I always have something pink on. I'm always surprised when someone comments about my pink and my glasses and how it all matches. And it reminds me that consistency in our brand and how we show up gets noticed by others, whether we realize it or not. The last thing I want to emphasize for your personal brand, and I cannot say this strongly enough, is your LinkedIn profile has to be current. Headshot needs to be professional, and you can use Gemini now to upload a casual photo, and it will create a professional photo for you now using Nano Banana, which is part of the Gemini suite. Your LinkedIn banner should not be the generic LinkedIn banner, the plain gray, or one of the others that they have. Create something in Canva, even get the size and dimensions, and Canva has templates that you can use. Lastly, your headline and about section are so key. Take a listen to episode 241 with Brenda Meller, where we dive in deep on this topic. All of this builds your credibility, which leads to the second item on the list, building trust. In order to be in demand, people need to know who you are, your values, and that comes through building trust. I just listened to the Sales Logic podcast with Meredith Elliott Powell and Mark Hunter this morning, and they talked about this topic. Here are things to watch for when you are creating and building trust from their lightning round list. Respect time. It is our most valuable asset. I always start our events on time, and although we may miss a few people arriving late, for the leaders who come early or right on time, I want them to feel like their time is valued. If I have a meeting that is scheduled for 30 minutes and we're heading towards the end and we still have more to talk about, I ask the other person, I have a couple more things to share with you. Do you have time or should we set up another meeting? This shows that you're staying on track, being on time, and you value their schedule. Practice and live your values. Whether you're on social media or in a meeting, be consistent with your personal values and how you interact with others. Put the other person first. Start with listening and showing empathy for their situation. Ask questions. It will bring you to understanding more about them, which leads into item number 3 on our list. Be a curious learner. Whether you're still in a corporate role, looking to land a board seat, grow a business, plan your portfolio career, learning should be ongoing. I asked this a year ago of Google, how can women stay relevant? I'm sure you've heard me talk about that the idea was that we should be younger looking and that would keep us relevant. Well, we know that led to a book, Power of What's Next. I hope you'll read it. We have 9 stories that talk about this. But I want to share with you here how important abundantly sharing your knowledge is to being in demand. We live in a time where ideas are only our own when we're in person. Once anything is written, posted, sent out, or published, it becomes part of a larger ecosystem in the new era of AI. I hear from women who express that they're worried about their IP. They don't want to give something away for free. I suggest we reframe this and instead of scarcity, abundance. One of the best examples of this is Michelle Peacock. I can't wait for you to hear all about her and her community, My Vibe, and her human design. And we're going to be talking about this next week. So be sure to subscribe to the show so that you can listen to Michelle's story next week. Michelle is one of the biggest amplifiers I know, and that leads us to number 4, build your network. 5 years ago, 11 women started HerCsuite. I invited women I knew to come together because they trusted me and we were all in a crazy journey together. Many of them came to an in-person event I had held at the beginning of 2020 at the company where I was division vice president. That spark led to another and another into creating HerCsuite today. The people around you influence what you see as possible. If you are in rooms where everyone is tired and burnt out or resigned, it's hard to hold a big vision. When you're in a room with women who are serving on boards, launching businesses, and shaping portfolio careers, you start to see new options for yourself. And that is what happened. We built momentum in those 2 rooms going forward. And that's why I care so much about building spaces inside HerCsuite network. We're not meant to navigate things in isolation. Coming together has so much power. Here's 3 ways to build connections. Make time every day for building your personal connections. Whether you're meeting with people, attending a webinar, networking, something I do every week, or attending an event, it has to be intentional. Don't leave it to chance. Be a net giver. I was interviewed on Roz Usheroff's show, and she and I talked about being a net giver, and we also talked about it in episode 100 on this podcast. Next, you need to surround yourself with people who lift you up. HerCsuite started after I read statistics about women on the Fortune 500 boards and in the C-suite. The number was so low, and yet it was being celebrated. The only solution I could come up with was we needed to do something, and that's how the 11 came to be. I knew most of them from being a leader in the Healthcare Businesswomen's Association, and they helped me level up and see what was possible before I even believed it myself. And that's why we are the result of the 5 or 6 people we surround ourselves with, and we can make our own seat at the table and our own board of advisors, cornerstones of HerCsuite. Lastly, I want you to think about building an alliance partnership. One of the best ways to be in demand and staying relevant is when you get exposure to other communities, partnerships, seeing what is possible because you're learning and you are getting an opportunity to share your knowledge. Partnerships is foundational to HerCsuite. From collaborating with Hope Mueller and Jen Pastikas to publish The Power of What's Next, Bold Moves by Design, to doing programs with How Women Lead and other organizations like Women at EMBA and Northwestern, it has given us a way to make great connections and build personal brands. It's led to podcast guests being on this show and other speaking opportunities. And one of my biggest partnerships is in the final item on this list. Be visible. We have led up to this, laying the groundwork from your personal brand, creating trust, curiosity, building connections, and this one brings it all together. This goes beyond digital and is more tangible. Here are 3 ways for you to be visible. First, become a speaker. Even if you've never professionally been a speaker, you can learn in small increments. My alliance partner, Bobby Carlton, founder of Innovation Women, has created a platform for speakers to start with asking a question at an event or in a meeting, and eventually it leads to being a moderator, then being a leader of a program, to keynotes and even TEDx talks. Bobby has become a close alliance partner for me, and I'm grateful for all the speakers in Innovation Women who are not only in our community, but have been on this show and are speakers at our events. On December 5th, Wendy Brown, who is a retired lieutenant colonel, I met her through Innovation Women. She is an incredible speaker, and she is going to be speaking on commanding the future of AI with our Next to Lead AI program. And I will have the link in the show notes. Next, be a podcast guest. As a host of 2 podcast shows, I forget how powerful it can be to be a guest on other shows. I've had wonderful new connections happen after being interviewed on other shows. I have a tip for you. If you're looking to land a podcast interview and aren't sure where to start, my all-time favorite podcast agent is Anastasia Lipsky of Access Speakers. She takes great care in aligning speakers to the show, and her guests generously share the podcast and give it a 5-star review. How awesome is that? Bonus for me, it's how I found our amazing podcast editor, Lena LaRue Gomez. I could not do this show without her. Lastly, for you to be visible, be a thought leader. Like everything in this episode, the thing you do needs to be intentional about the plan and what you're doing next. Choose a topic that excites you. Follow leaders on LinkedIn who talk about that topic. Like and comment on their posts. If you are in a corporate role, you can create a roadshow for other departments to learn and understand about what your area does, which will give you internal visibility and gain access and be in demand to senior leaders. I talk about this in my signature talk, Get to Yes Faster, and with Jen Pastikis on this show. Being in demand and the leader you're meant to be is all about putting the pieces together, connecting those dots. My career didn't start in women's leadership. It started in trade shows, and I saw thousands of times the power of connection. This 5-step framework, if you put it in action, will help you be in demand and stay relevant as a person and as a woman thriving into the future. As you listen today, I want you to remember staying relevant and in demand is not about chasing all the new trends. It's about choosing how you are showing up, what you create, and who's in your circle. Thank you for listening to this special episode of Women Leaders on the Move. I want to shout out to all our listeners around the world. And since this episode is airing the day before a U.S. holiday, I want to share my gratitude of you all listening and spending time with me every week. I appreciate you. If you're ready to explore what's next, curious about doing the 5 things that we talked about, and you don't want to do it alone, whether it's landing a board role, growing a business, or designing the portfolio career of your dreams, I would love for you to be part of our community in HerCsuite. And this week, until the end of the month, my thankful Black Friday savings are designed for you, our listeners. So be sure to check out the link in the show notes, and you can also learn about it at HerCsuite.com memberships. Keep shining your light bright. The world needs you.